This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com. And today we have a returning guest who is an actress, I guess you could say an adult star and a pro wrestler and an LFC fighter who's actually competing coming up here in about a week's time. And she's training to be more of a professional wrestler. Queen Gia Love, how are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me on Hannibal TV again. I'm doing so well and I'm excited to talk more about LFC. I've been waiting for this for a really long time, and a lot of their shows have been over in the West Coast. So, this is their first show in Orlando, Florida, and I get to finally debut with a match against the Barbie badass Paris Love, who I have worked with on several occasions, and I'm excited to debut with someone that I know and have had a lot of experience with.
For people that aren't familiar with LFC, do you want to explain the concept of the events and how people can actually watch it?
They've got their website, lfcfights.com, and they have a membership and pay per view. They'll do live shows. They've had shows in Vegas, in Sturgis. They just did another one out in Vegas, and now they're doing the one out in Orlando this Saturday. That is LFC 29 or 39, apologies. Goddess Among Us for February 24th in Orlando. And this is going to be a live event, and it's also going to be a pay per view event. So, for those that aren't able to actually attend the live event out in Orlando at Secrets Hideaway, they could log on lfcfights.com, sign up for a membership, and watch and support us on there. There's no reason why everybody can't enjoy the fight.
So, is this going to be your first time actually performing a fight concept in front of a live crowd? Because I know you do a lot of videos and stuff where there's no fans in attendance, but there's actually going to be fans watching this live.
This actually isn't my first live event. I've done a few pro wrestling shows more as like a big character. I don't get involved too much. I'm still training, so I would feel more comfortable getting some more training under my belt before I start doing more full matches at pro wrestling shows. But I've done going into the ring and executing a few moves at a wrestling show at a main fair festival. I've also done shows for, well, it's more of an exhibition in the beginning of Women Athlete on Fire, and that's with Session Girls. And they'll do events as well in Vegas, Chicago, LA. We're trying to get another one out here in Florida. So, looking for trying to find a venue within budget becomes the challenge. But sooner or later, we're definitely going to have a Women Athlete on Fire event here in Florida. And I've done live shows there as well. Exhibition, usually one of the first things you see for the show. And I'll come out and I'll do a little mixed match with a submissive that I bring that's kind of valet slash submissive slash training dummy. And I'll pick them up, throw them around, do a little bit. They'll tear off my top. I've got pasties underneath, sends me into a rage, backhand. So this is all in front of an audience, and lingerie fighting championship is going to be in front of the audience, but it's probably going to be the bigger audience. I'm not really sure. It's located. The live show is gonna be done at a adult lifestyle club, Secrets Hideaway. So I'm not sure how the layout's gonna be. I've been there maybe once. So I'm excited about it. I think that the crowd's really gonna enjoy it. It's not something that I've personally experienced going to adult playground settings, watching a wrestling event, especially attractive females in lingerie, and that's their whole thing. It's basically one of the first things that they say at the top of the website, like women fighting in lingerie. So lingerie fighting championship.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and I guess it's kind of like wrestling, but in an MMA setting. Do you know submission holds? Obviously, you must, but do you have any type of MMA background?
I have more MMA practitioner. I more getting hired to wrestle and more just experience from wrestling with different sparring partners of different experience levels. Some people know a lot, some people don't. Some people are older, some people are younger, stronger, weaker. So I can't say that I've had a lot of formal MMA training. I haven't signed up for classes, stuck with it for years. The wrestling I've been sticking with for years, but more on a freestyle practice capacity. And then everything that I've been doing for pro wrestling practice, we're throwing some grappling into that. So I do instinctually know some grappling. The names I'm learning now. So one that's pretty easy for and effective, the guillotine, like grabbing them from behind, putting in a sleeper and wrapping the legs around the waist. So good grappling technique. And there's other ones that I know. Armbar. I don't really go for that one that often. It's really hard to get it in there. So I don't try fighting with that one too much. And then there's other ones that I can get into. But like I said, I don't know. I don't know the names, but I did get a lot of grappling practice from doing the cat fights. So that's always been like serious, competitive, trying to get the other person to submit kind of thing.
Have you ever been in like real street fights or anything throughout your life?
Not a one, which I find kind of odd because I've always been kind of, I guess, argumentative or willing to like start a confrontation. And I don't know, no fights. I guess I stayed out of them, or I just wasn't in the right settings for them, and then I just got into it. Like, it was actually Sarah Brooke who is trained and does actively practice. Last I knew, does regularly practice martial arts and MMA, and she's the one that was telling me about session girls. And then that's when I signed up back in 2016. And then everything snowballed from there, getting hired to do more custom wrestling and getting involved with people that were doing custom wrestling and pro wrestling and expressing more interest in wanting to know the pro wrestling side of it because I enjoy the showmanship, I enjoy the acting, I enjoy the costumes, I enjoy the athleticism of it. It is the closest I've gotten to doing gymnastics since I wanted to when I was a wee little human.
Now, are you considered a heel in LFC, or because it's MMA, there's no baby faces or heels?
The way that we've got it planned out so far, I am babyface, which I found interesting. I usually play heel. I like to play heel. I like to do a villain motif, and I feel that thank you, Disney. We now believe that villains are purple. So we see purple and we think villain. So it just kind of where I gravitated and also how I like to perform, just doing like the evil role, or like sorceress, enchantress, or something along those lines. Just like in that realm, very reminiscent of RPG or Dungeons and Dragons, but being able to put it out on a wrestling ring.
Did you already have that Queen GLove gimmick before the Kill City Cup and they kind of took it and put it into the movie?
They just used my name. I already had the Queen Gia. It's Queen Gia Love, and then for Kill City Cup, they call me just Queen Gia. So they took off the love part, but it's still Queen Gia. That's what I go by on everything. I was considering and even took steps to create a different pro wrestling name, and there has been so much interlap with pro wrestling and adult work now that I don't believe that that step is really necessary, and that I could just continue pursuing pro wrestling even with the custom wrestling still being something that I do.
What is the adult work that you do? Because I see in some places you are classified as a porn star, but do you actually do that, or are you just more of like sexy
It
wrestling?
really boils down to your definition of porn star. If porn star means that you can find a video, an explicit video of me and a male out there. You can't buy that, but you're not going to be able to find it on Pornhub or X videos or wherever you find your porn. You want to be like, you might be able to find some of my fetish content, maybe some of my wrestling content. There might be uh feet, lots of fetish stuff, but as far as like stuff that people should be getting tested for, you're not going to really find a lot of that content out there. It's not something I personally like to create. I believe that there's a lot of that content out there already, so I don't want to add on to it. But it's not that I'm opposed. I'll make that content with my partner, and we'll sell it for a lot of money because it's not something that I want people to be seeking me for, because that's a very that those type of scenes, the female has a very specific role, and it's usually one of pleasing the male, and I'm like, there's just already so much content like that. I want to make more female pleasing content, like the male there to please the woman, make the woman happy, and then in turn she's generous enough to please the male. So just making content like that, and then yes, it's for an adult audience. So because a lot of the content that I make is for an adult audience, I guess that would be considered porn. So then, because I'm a star of that content, porn star, it really depends on how you define it. Because someone would be disappointed if I told them, yes, I am a porn star, and then they try to find me on Pornhub, and they're like, oh, I can't find you in a gangbang or something. And I'm like, it just really does depend on how you define it.
Right, and I saw a video of you that I think was from a porn convention, so you do the circuit for that, but I understand now you're just an adult star and I guess a person of sexuality, I guess you could say.
It's just someone that's open about it, I believe. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not opposed, or do I have any qualms for people that want to make more explicit content. It's there's a lot more steps involved in it, and then there's also a lot more risk. And I find that the fetish content allows for more acting, more flexibility, more creativity when it comes to the typical adult scene. It is very much, there is a male, he's in charge, there's a female, and she takes it. And that's the formula, and it's been done. So I just not opposed. It sells well. I know it does. I can probably make a lot more money doing a lot more content like that. It's not as fun for me, because then it becomes something that I enjoy personally, and making it more about work, and then it becomes work instead of uh, a leisure activity or something that I like to do for fun. But yeah, definitely. I when people ask me, you, I guess it depends. Different situations, I'll give them different answers. But I ultimately like to consider myself an adult performer or an adult entertainer, and then also wrestler.
As far as your wrestling training, who's been training you for the ring?
Chris Silvio over at Death Proof Jojo, he's been training me, and also he's going to be helping out with the LFC match out in Orlando.
What's been the hardest part about your pro wrestling training so far? How have you been taking to the bumps and so forth?
The bumps, the training, all that's great. I find that I get to a point where I can't. I want to keep drilling. I want to like learn to move and keep drilling it till I can perfect it. But there's really not enough time to do that. So I'll have to start getting into the habit of drilling a bit of it in at my studio. I've got a wrestling ring that I can use for practice. So I could be drilling it in there. I do Silvio allows me to film the match or our practices so I can go back, look at the stuff that we've done, see myself performing the moves, and think, okay, well, that needs to be tightened up. Film it at the studio, see how the moves are coming out. Working on my strikes. Those are coming along. He's still giving me pointers on them. So practicing those and just going over what just drilling it more, and also feeling a little like after an hour of practice, kind of be feeling like, oh, okay, that's it, I'm done. I want to be done now. But at the same time, I don't want to be, because I want to keep practicing, but I guess the motivation declines after an hour. Usually I get like 2 hours, 2.5 hours worth of practice. I try to go, if not one time a week, like minimum one time a week, if not 2 times a week, if I can fit it in. It just all depends. I'll get swapped with customs, private clients, planning, costumes. There's just always something's always happening.
Is there any female or male wrestler that you kind of like watching?
Ooh. Sunny Kiss immediately came to mind. I'm not sure why, but yes. Are you familiar with Sunny Kiss?
Yes, I think he was in AEW, and that
Yeah,
would make
I
sense.
haven't seen him wrestle in so long. I think the first time, I can't even remember where I saw him the first time, but I just love the gimmick, the attitude, the combination, what feels like a drag performance with wrestling. I just love it. It's so theatrical. It's like bringing more of the showmanship type stuff, the theater, the glitz, the glam, to wrestling, where it's always been like, well, it not always, but there's been a moment, or it's been lately, where it's just real dark.
Now, obviously, you have a great physique. There's a fan on here that's asking if you work out a lot. How often do you work out?
Ooh. Okay, so my working out isn't exactly going to the gym. A lot of my working out is actual work. Um, on that list of fetish videos that I make, one of them is lift and carry, and that one is really, really popular for me, where I'll pick someone up and carry them around. So that ends up being part of my workout. And anytime I see a private client, that ends up being part of my workout, about an hour of grappling back and forth with a male, which is usually larger than me. I also get a lot of workout in when I practice with Chris Silvio in the wrestling ring. So that'll be an extra hour, 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. So we're looking at maybe 4 hours a week working out on average.
I saw the one picture you have. I forget what social media platform it was on, but you're wrestling someone that looks like they're about 400 pounds. I'm gonna guess you didn't lift and carry him.
That's Tweedledee, another pro wrestler. He is amazing. He's done a couple of the custom wrestling scenes with me, and that it might have been the first one, or might have been the second one because we did two of them. One of them had a ref, the other one didn't have the ref. And this client in particular just loves watching Tweedledee squish people and do his bonsai drop, and he'll scream it bonsai, and then he'll squish me, and then sell it like, oh no, big heavy guy, oh he's on me, and he'll of course win because I'm no match. He's just Tweedledee is just so much, and he's got those deadly bonsai drops.
That's funny. Now, as far as working out, you look like you have really strong legs. Have you ever worked out your legs, or is that just natural?
A lot of it is natural, to be honest. I mean, I do keep my legs in good shape. As I said, with the lift and carries, those will be 10 minutes of lifting human weight on my shoulder, and I'll usually end up doing 10, if not 20 squats while I've got a human on my back. And then the wrestling practice, and I'll try to squeeze in the time to go to the gym. I'm not opposed to the gym. There's the extra resistance of getting into the car, arriving to the location, using it's extra steps. So I'm working on building a gym set at the studio so it's there, and I don't have to spend the extra 30 minutes commuting back and forth. It's 30 minutes I really don't got to spend. So clearing out that area, putting in a nice squat rack, and then we'll probably see some bigger gains on Clean Gia soon.
And I understand you're from Tampa, an area where it's actually quite historic for wrestling. A lot of wrestlers live there, including Hulk Hogan. Um, if anyone visits there, do you have a favorite restaurant that you would recommend?
Ooh, favorite restaurant. See, my tastes aren't the same as everyone's taste. I have been really into Kura Revolving Sushi Bar. It's just so fun. It's attached to a mall on the outside area, how most malls will have their interior with their shops, and then on the outside they'll have full restaurants. So this is a full restaurant with a revolving sushi bar. So it goes by every table, and you can pick your sushi as it comes by if you want it, or you can order it fresh. They got a robot that delivers the water. This is just very fun for me. I enjoy that. I know a lot of people don't like sushi, and maybe they want a more upscale experience. I've been enjoying this place because I am an anime and comic book fan at heart, and this just sends me over the moon. They just play, and then they have they make a little bit of a game of it. They've got animation as well for every meal that you, or every plate that you pick off the revolving belt. Uh, every 5 plates you get an animation, and then every 15 plates they give you a toy. So it's just fun. And that's something that I enjoy. If you like sushi, I recommend it to everybody. And I have been taking all my friends there.
It sounds delicious. And as far as travel, if you could travel anywhere, is there any particular destination right now that you haven't been where you'd like to go?
I think I'm going to say Japan.
Yeah, obviously with the anime, that would make sense. Do you have any favorite anime series?
Ooh, it's got to be Dragon Ball. Just the whole series that is Dragon Ball, and why it makes sense. I'm so into getting the fighting, the grappling, LFC, women athlete on fire, wrestling customs, why I've gotten so involved in this. They had Dragon Ball Z and they had Sailor Moon. And I was watching Dragon Ball Z. Sailor Moon was very much about a girl that kept pining after a guy. And I was like, meh. And then I was watching Dragon Ball Z and everyone's like kicking ass and getting stronger. And Vegeta's so angry. And I'm like, this is good shit. So I still watch it. I've actually rewatched all of it. Got Crunchyroll, watched all of Dragon Ball, watched all of Dragon Ball Z after I had finished Dragon Ball Super. I'm gonna stop because I could talk forever.
Well, I guess if you keep training for wrestling, there's a good chance maybe you could go over there for one of the women's promotions in Japan and your gimmick
That's
might
what
get
I'm
over
hoping
there.
for.
So where can people follow you if they want to look you up?
Ooh, I made it so easy for everyone. So Queen Gia Love has got a website, Gia Love. Super simple. GiaLove.com. And it has every single one of my social medias on there. So if you like Instagram, Twitter or X, uh, I've got Blue Sky, I've got Discord, I've got Facebook. So whichever you like, it's right there at the top of the page, gialove.com, and Gia is spelled Gia. I didn't know that was going to be a problem for people, but yeah, Gia is spelled Gia, not Gina. There's no N in there, people. Gia. LOVE.com. And then you can pick whichever social media you prefer. And then just below all my social media links, then we get to my videos and my travel schedule and how you can meet me in person. GiaLove.com. Made it really, really simple.
So for people that aren't in Florida, you actually do little tours where they could possibly see you in other areas.
That's correct. And that segues into the New York wrestling party that I wanted to talk about, since I will be headed up to New York City soon, specifically March 8th. The New York wrestling party called Surrender. This one's be focused on wrestling and asphyxiation. And I mean, asphyxiation. So it would be exploring wrestling kink and asphyxiation kink, breath play, face sitting, things of that nature. And I'll be there. So if anybody listening is in New York on March 8th, and give me 1 second because I'm pretty sure that's a Saturday, but I'm going to double check. It's a Friday, March 8th on Friday. And that'll be in New York.
There you go. I know we got a lot of fans in New York. And for your lingerie fighting match, did you want to cut a promo on your opponent for us to give yourself some promo practice and also make the fans want to see that fight coming?
Of course, I would. Paris, I know that we've been very civil, but we both know that this is important. So don't think because we get along well and because we work well together that I'm just going to let you win. You know I'm a contender, and I know you are too. So I expect you to bring it. And I know you will, and I'll be ready for you. I'll see you at the Lingerie Fighting Championship 39, hosted by Secrets Hideaway in Orlando. I'll see you there.